I just, oh.
You are putting it up on my.
All right, good morning, everybody. Good morning. I'm going to call to order today's Public Works Committee for Tuesday, October 15th, 2024. The time is now 9 a.m. Can I get a roll call, please?
Chair Garcia,
Here.
Vice Chair Ozog,
Here.
Member Cahill,
Here.
Member Desart,
Here.
Member Galassi.
Here.
Member Zay.
Here. I have no remarks today. Is there any public comment? I do have one here from a Philip Buchanan. Phil, if you want to come up
No
here,
comment, just in case.
just in case, okay. And I know we have students here from what school?
Hinsdale Central.
Hinsdale Central. Welcome and thank you
Well,
for
there
being here.
are, most of them are in
Yeah,
there.
we got half and half.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Oh,
I didn't
Hello
see
to
it.
you guys and happy to be here. Okay, so, I make a motion to approve the minutes 24-2718 Public Works Committee meeting, regular
Second.
meeting Tuesday, October 1st, 2024. Get a motion and second. Any discussion on those? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. I make a motion to approve 24-2720 Public Works Committee meeting minutes of the special call meeting of Tuesday, October 1st, 2024. The motion, is there a second?
Second, so I was the only one there from the committee.
Wasn't here, didn't want to say.
Thank you, Member Zay. A motion is second. Any discussion on these? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. I make a motion to approve the budget transfer 24-2719 Public Works transfer of funds from account. Let's see, from salary and wage adjustments and regular salaries and salary and wage adjustments to regular salaries and employment, medical and hospital insurance in the amount of $331,000 to allocate hourly salaries to departments where work was performed and to update employee medical and hospital insurance based on employee benefit elections.
So move.
Second.
Move to second. Any discussion on this? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I make a motion to approve the claims report of 24-2730 payment of claims, public works and facilities management.
So move.
Second.
Okay, this motion is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
No, sorry, any discussion? No, okay. All those in favor, aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. I make a motion to approve the joint purchasing agreement of FMP 003924, recommendation for the approval of a contract to Johnson Controls Inc. to furnish and deliver Johnson Control parts as needed for county campus for facilities management for the period of December 1st, 2023 to August 12th, 2026 for a total contract amount not to exceed $48,095. Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, and could you explain to us again why this is back to 2023?
So, Tim,
Valerie or me?
Makes no difference.
we all, any one of the three of us, so.
So when the
it's up to you.
purchase was occurred, it was under departmental threshold. Now that it has exceeded departmental threshold, we come to the committee for approval.
Yeah, so we have authority up to a certain amount. Once we exceed that, then we have to come back and then redo what we already done. So it was under contract. Now that we exceeded, we're coming back.
All right, thank you for that. Okay, any other discussion on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I make a motion to approve the bid renewal of FMP 004024, recommendation for the approval contract of Alves Supply to furnish and deliver restroom tissue and paper towels to the judicial office facility, JTK Administration Building and Jail on a monthly basis and as needed for the Power Plant Children's Center, Office of Emergency Management, and the Coroner's Office for facilities management for the period of December 1st, 2024 through November 30th, 2025 for a total contract amount not to exceed $112,688.36. Been a motion and a second. Any discussion on this?
It's an important contract.
It is a very important. All those in favor then? Aye. Any opposed? Yeah, that bid renewal is approved. Okay, moving on to our presentation, we've got the utility status updates. We're going to start with electricity, and Drew, you want to start?
Yeah, and while we get that going, go ahead, if you want to go ahead and pull that up. If you recall, this was one where we decided not to award the bid, and Drew has done a tremendous amount of monitoring, and we're talking about it constantly, so I'll steal his thunder a little bit. We made the right decision. So go ahead, Drew.
Oh, thank you. Yep, so this is just a quick overview of where we've stood since the beginning of April when we made that switch. So just a quick recap. The electrical cost components that go into our electricity, we break them into two categories, so negotiable and non-negotiable. The negotiables are the energy supply costs, which we are able to bid out, and that's roughly about 30% of our total cost of electricity. The rest of them are basically service charges, fees, things of that nature that ComEd or a utility company would tack on to keep up with their infrastructure and things of that nature. So again, 30% of our costs are what we are able to bid out. Next slide, please. The county elected not to go with a fixed rate contract in April 2024. That would have put our kilowatt hour price at about 4 cents. We were paying roughly about 2.4 cents before that. We had that contract for 3 years. So we had some really great pricing for those 3 years, but we elected not to go at that point and go on the ComEd commercial hourly, which is basically a daily average of the costs that ComEd would supply for electricity and distribution charges. We also look at carbon-free resource adjustment, which has historically been a charge. This is generally an inverse of the cost of the electricity supply, which offsets the nuclear power plants. So an example being if the electricity supply costs are high, then the CFRA will generally be lower credit because there's enough monetary value going in to offset that cost for the nuclear power plants. Next slide. So this is our, as Nick alluded to, kind of our great slide. So the average commercial hourly price for the last, from April 1st to October 1st has been 92% of the time lower than that 4 cents that we got as a fixed bid rate. So thus far, the county's been able to save about 26% on electricity supply costs from May 1st to September 1st, thus meaning that overall, both facilities and public works, if we would have gone into that fixed rate contract, we would have been just over $800,000 in spend. And to October 1st, we're at about 600,000. So we're right about that 200,000 mark savings. So which is great and super beneficial for the county thus far.
And somebody knows, we're still looking at the possibility of fixed pricing if we can go out to bid. The reason why it was so high when we went out are all the uncertainties in the market that had to be factored in the bids. And so if the conditions are right, we will pursue that because budget stability is always very much our what we're trying to go after. But right now it's still kind of up in the air. So we're constantly talking, constantly monitoring. At some point, we will likely go back for fixed price bidding and see where we're at.
When we did this back in April, the ICC, I believe, said they were considering something towards the end of the year as a decision. So we're obviously closely monitoring that, but as that comes through, we'll continue to review and monitor that, whether we go to a fixed rate or continue on commercial hourly. But I review this every week on a daily basis, more or less, of going on and out on a daily average basis. So I know it a little bit too well. So continue to review it on a weekly basis and inform staff and committee of the per kilowatt hour price. We'll continue to track the CFRA adjustments, see if that turns into a credit for us or continues to be a minimal charge. And then again, we'll watch for clarification from the ICC. So that's our
Thank you for
electricity.
your hard work on that. Thank you.
Yeah,
You did a
great
great job
job.
on that. I appreciate
Anything
it. Member Rutledge.
Thank you, Chair. Not on this committee, but I have to ask, do we have some comparisons on solar panels versus not solar panels as far as energy usage?
Oh, clearly, I mean, we're starting to have the benefits of the solar we've done here. It's just the less usage that we have to go on the grid, the better. So we are still all in on the solar moving forward, getting things set up, moving projects forward. I mean, we had a big array come. So every array that we add here on campus or down at Woodridge will reduce what we're having to purchase out there.
I'm just
But
curious what that dollar amount might be here. So, but I know that we're young on that.
we're still very young on that one.
But-
We need a little bit more data
Yeah.
points to know, but absolutely, we're tracking that exactly what our usage and what we're producing out of it.
Yeah, hopefully by next year we'll have a better idea.
Right.
And I can tell you the work that Drew has done on this one has benefited facilities, public works. I mean, he is every week, we get the email with daily what's happening. He's done a wonderful job. So it's saved us a lot of money.
Thank you so much, Drew. Thank you. Okay, we're gonna move into natural gas. Sorry, member Velocity.
To member Rutledge's question, and I know it's very small, but do we know what percentage of our usage is solar versus,
Not yet.
no?
Still
Okay,
too
that's
young.
still,
Still
It's
too
only
young.
been a couple of months that.
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
been
not even
out.
that. There were some parts that were hard to source, like
Okay.
anything. And so we kind of just got it up and running within the last couple of months. So we really need to see some data points and, what the production is, but we're very hopeful. We made it bigger than we originally thought. So, and we're hoping to keep adding to that array.
Okay, 2025, you will.
And we will be adding the remainder 421 with the EECBG grant dollars.
Correct.
Yay, grand dollars.
So maybe halfway through 2025, you might have.
Oh, yeah, we'll have some, and we'll have seasonal averages, what we have in the fall, at least the fall and the winter. Because obviously production changes by seasons a little bit.
Okay, any other
I
questions?
have one more. So on my solar panels at home, I have an app that I can see what they're generating every day. Do we have anything like that? can
I
look
think we
at?
do.
Okay.
We do have an app that we've linked all of our solar panels that we have, although we will have exactly what we're producing.
So maybe it's not enough to make the app use, maybe we're not generating enough for the app to actually come up.
Probably not, but thanks, Chad.
Any other questions? Okay, moving into our next presentation, natural gas and water. Ian.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Joe.
You want to sit here? No.
No, it's all stand. I present better. Okay, so jail water usage, water rates, and gas. So this is gonna be some good news following Drew's. Our jail water usage is back to normal. If you remember, back in November 2022, jail water usage began increasing as a bit of a conundrum for about a year and a half. We went from an average of just over 3 million gallons to over 5 million gallons a month. However, in the last 4 months, usage has dropped back to normal. You can see the lovely green line, red line bad, and then back to green. Though no leaks or fixture malfunctions were found, we are attributing the drop in water usage to staff and changes in water use behavior. They have acknowledged that the water rates were high, so they began practicing better water use behavior throughout the jail.
Well, you never really found the reason. for the-
No, we investigated a lot of stuff. I can go over everything but yeah, we didn't find leaks. We didn't find abnormal infrastructure problems. We tested the meter twice because the meter got replaced right as water usage spiked. We had Sean, who's not here.
Sean's here.
Sean, his guys even tested it. So we just couldn't find anything, unfortunately. So
I will tell you, Ian left no stone
No, he
unturned.
I tried.
And when over there, the best, and we thought, is there something wrong with City of Wheaton and how they're reading, we went every different angle. The only thing we can come up with is because we made such a big deal about it,
Yeah.
that the staff maybe started, going, this is a lot of money and we need to be careful. And it's kind of back to normal after we made such a big deal about it.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna continue to monitor it, of course. And we haven't heard, any kind of a whisper or rumor of, oh, wow, we found this pipe that was just bursted and we know, nothing like that. So we can only attribute it that everyone kind of collaboratively began to decrease their water usage in some way.
Even the sink's on. Remember you.
Oh, my question is, what behavioral changes were there such that now there's such a large?
We made sure that they were, monitoring, the kitchen, water usage, the various inmates, cell usage, their own, toilet infrastructure, bathrooms, like just all that stuff. Like we went over all the various steps that they can do to make sure inmates as well as staff are using just sinks properly. They're not just running the toilet constantly, that kind of stuff.
The facility is notoriously very difficult because obviously a lot of them are the push on and it times off. But, you have the inmates over there that they figure out how to jam things in there to keep it going constantly. Anything that can be done is done over there.
Okay,
I mean, and that's what you're up against. This isn't like a normal usage like in the care center where it's very easy to figure out. This is difficult situations to get to the bottom of it.
Good to know. I just wanted to
Remember
make
to
sure that
start?
staff
I think I
was
saw your hand, right?
in-
Thank you. Yeah, that was my question as well. How do you change water behavior? Like you can only flush once every 3 times.
I mean, yeah.
And I mean, if you think about it, it could be like in a kitchen, maybe they leave all the sinks going all out all the time. And now that the guards over there know that this is such a big problem, maybe they're maybe changing that pattern. I mean, it could be because they do a lot of the different like hydroponics and things over there. Maybe they're leaving water going full time. And so this is just changing the patterns.
So Nick, if I were a prisoner, why would I want the toilet going all the time? Why would I push that button or whatever to make it go all the time?
Actually, I've heard they're bored, B, the background noise. They want the background noise in there too.
Interesting. All right, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thursday?
Yeah, well, is that a suggestion? Do you want to go over there for like a couple days? and see? No? Do we
I
have
said I
low,
want to.
do we have low flow devices over there on the sinks and the toilets and the showers?
I mean, all the standards, I mean, I will say that it is a difficult building because of piping when it was constructed is extremely flat. And so you have to have a certain amount of flow just to keep the,
Product moving.
yeah,
And I know like.
product, I like that.
The basic ones are in like aerators on the sinks are installed, those types of things. It might not be an entire fixture overhaul, but you know, the basic mechanisms that can save water are installed over there.
Okay, great, thank you.
Member Chaplin?
Thank you. Just a silly question. Does the number of inmates have anything to do with the water usage going down?
That's a big one we looked at and no,
No,
we've been
okay.
about 500 inmates since
Okay.
about 2017.
I just curious. All right, thank you.
The other thing that we do want to look at is they're a seasonal. Do we see some kind of a seasonal pattern here? And that will tell us, you know, if there could be something with HVAC and we need to see what the season, I mean, so far you can see kind of the seasonal. We need more data. It's that data is something like we've never seen before. And everybody here from Public Works Facilities, we couldn't figure out why it would behave like that.
Any other questions on this? Thank you, Ian, for leaving no stone unturned.
We'll just hope
toilet
it's- I hope it,
unflushed.
let's just hope it stays that way. Okay, so now bad news. Water rates are increasing next year. The city of Wheaton is raising their water costs due to Lake Michigan, rising costs since 2015. As members, I'm sure is very well aware of, DuPage Water Commission, we buy our water from Lake Michigan, and they've been increasing their water rates since 2015. They are also attributing this increase to rising operating costs due to inflation and energy prices, as well as replacing aging infrastructure. So the city of Wheaton makes up about 58% of our water costs, our campus water costs, with the other 42% being Wheaton sanitary. So there's two items that they are increasing. One is just their flat water meter service fee, which is a fixed fee depending on our water meter size. So for example, the jail water meter is 3 inches and we get charged every month $163 for that 3-inch water meter. In 2027, once all of these small incremental, or I shouldn't say small, but once all these incremental increases have come about, that will be a $258 monthly fee. And so then you can multiply that by all of our campus buildings, water meter size. So this is going to account for several $1,000s in annual budget increases. But the big one is the water usage rate increase. So currently we pay $5.05 per 100 cubic feet. But next year, that is going to jump up 21.6% and going to continue to increase through 2027. And so we are anticipating significant water cost increases because of this.
And just to make clear, the 28.9 is a cumulative amount. It's not 21 and
Correct,
25.
yes,
So
yeah.
we're clear on that. It's a cumulative amount.
And
through
I'll just
27.
reference that for the next few slides too. That'll be true for all of these. We're going to use 2020 or in this case, 2024 as a baseline, and the percent increases will just be towards that baseline. So another thing that is going up is our gas usage, and with that gas
Jim had a
cost, sorry.
I just had a question on water.
Okay.
You know, you basically have 2 increases, right? The city of Chicago raises it 5% or CPI every year, which last year was 3.4%. So then the commission passed on 3.4%, but then you have Wheaton who then adds their additional cost onto it also.
And clearly, and I'm, just because obviously we buy the water commission, typically you guys just pass along, or even you guys have absorbed some of that, so you don't even pass on what the true cost from city of Chicago. But the vast majority of this is city of Wheaton increases.
Member Champlin?
Yeah, and that's just another topic for another day, but I think that's something that maybe needs to be discussed about those water rates with the municipalities and see how, at another time we'll talk about it, but it's important.
One thing to add, when we wrote the budget, we didn't know we would have this water issue resolved the first lighting it had. So we did budget that would continue on. The rate increase is almost spot on to what our old usage was.
Okay.
So the budget for 25 is correct. When we called Wheaton and asked for the rate increase in June, they said maybe 4%. And I understand that. It's not, your rate increase isn't done until the city council adopts it. So we do have this budgeted properly in 2025.
Member you?
So I think Member Chaplin was alluding to it, but can we renegotiate the water rates for Wheaton? No.
No, we're on, the campus pays what the rest of the users of Wheaton pay. We don't have a negotiated. I will say a 21% 1-year increase is pretty massive. Typically, our course of business, when this committee looks at our rate studies, we do every 4 years, we try to keep it in the 5 to 7% maximum per year. The thought process is, rather than hitting people with a huge increase, you just do a little bit so that it's a little bit more manageable. That's a big increase. And so the residents are gonna feel that.
And that is the point. I mean, at some point, the water is gonna become cost prohibitive for some people, right? And is water, is it a commodity or is it what is it, right? So I think it's a bigger discussion, maybe a roundtable discussion, because we can't price people out of water. So,
Everyone needs water.
yes.
It's not alone.
Is that combined? Is it sewer and water, or is that just water?
No, the other Wheaton Sanitary is not.
Okay,
raising their
not-
rate. Their rates are staying the same.
Okay, next slide.
Yeah. Okay, I'll try to go a bit quicker here. So mainly look at the table first here, okay? So we have 2020 to 2023. 2020 and 2021 stay relatively the same. That is our difference in usage and our cost difference. Then in 2022, you can see a massive jump in usage as well as cost, and that continues on to 2023. So we're using 2020 as a baseline for budgetary purposes because we kind of want to find that new norm of what the campus uses, what our new normal life is like with employees back on campus. So that's why we're using 2020 as a baseline. So we had employees transitioning back to work. We had a 3% increase in occupied square footage on campus. And then also winter of 2021 to 2022 with the fiscal December of 2023 being very cold winters, which all attribute to a jump in usage in 2022. So that's why we're normal, and then massive jump in 2022 in usage, as well as 2023. And now you might be thinking, why is the cost not matching that? Well, that is because also NICOR has raised their rates, which we'll go on to the next slide. So this table is some of the line items on a NICOR bill that we receive. And once again, 2020 is our baseline down to 2023. You can see that all these line items are relatively normal in 2020 and 2021. However, in 2022, they all jump massively, including and that stays till 2023. NICOR is on a rate cycle from 2022 to 2025. Which means these rates are going to be here next year. And then I'm not sure after that.
And these are not cumulative increases. This is yearly increases on this?
So this is just comparatively to 2020. So 40.7% increase to 2020 would be that distribution charge. Member, sorry.
Go ahead, so on.
Thank you. I just want to be clear and understand this. Are these NICOR increases or are these increases in our costs because back by 2022, we had everybody back?
These are NICOR increases, but this combined with our jump in usage is going to attribute to that 50% cost increase you're seeing because they increase their rates and we are using more. So it's just a combination factor. And I don't believe I said this, but NICOR makes up 31% of our campus gas bill. They are a distributor. we, similar to electricity, even though we're not doing it right now, as Drew pointed out, we purchase a set price from a supplier, which is Mansfield currently, and they make up 69% of our campus gas bill. And I'll go over because they're also, rates are also going up, but quite a little bit different, but we'll talk about it in a second. But yes, NICOR rates are going up. Next slide. This is due to Hurricane Ida, which disrupted half of the Gulf of Mexico gas production in 2021. Demand increase from the economic boom following the pandemic with the stimulus as well as low interest rates. We have reduced drilling. Natural gas drilling has reduced, which has not kept up with the increased demand for cleaner electricity, fuel, et cetera. And then also the war in Ukraine has also had a ripple effect in these rate increases. Okay, so now Mansfield, which makes up our 69% of our gas bill, our costs have also gone up with them. But you can see that, so starting with that first bullet point, purchasing gas from Mansfield at 28 cents, 28.8 cents a therm in 2020. Then we renewed the contract for 32.8 cents a therm in 2022. So that was a jump, an increase in price, and that's due to some of the factors I just mentioned, the hurricane, war in Ukraine, et cetera. And if you look at the table, you can see that jump in usage again, right? 2022, we have that 10% jump, but that cost, you would think, kind of mimics that. Well, one, we had the rate increase, of course, okay, so we had that 14% increase in rate. But also, when we contract for the set amount of therms, we tell them, okay, we're gonna use 200,000 therms in January, and then when January happens, if we are less than 200,000 therms, they give us a credit back. However, when we are over that price, we get penalized. We get penalized 1/10 of a therm. That's incremental for every therm beyond that contracted price. So when we had a jump in usage, we also had a jump in uncontracted volume that we purchased. So we got penalized heavily in 2022 and 2023. I believe our contract is up for Mansfield next year, so that would be a time to revisit this all, just like we were revisiting with electricity.
Thank you so much. Any other questions?
We need to turn the heat down and
Oh, no.
Yeah.
it's wonderful.
Turn the lights down, the heat down. No, I will say between Drew and Ian, we're very lucky with the analysis that they're able to do and the handle that they have on this. I mean, we're very fortunate with the amount of work they've done. So thank you, both of you.
And we've got the new HVAC equipment coming in, too, which will help too, so. Okay, thank you so much for both of those presentations. Moving on to old business, the Heritage Gallery Survey. We're short on time, so I'm hoping all of you had a chance to look at it and circle what your choices were and rank by priority. Jeff, you want to come up? Sure.
Yep.
Morning.
Good morning. Do you have a presentation?
I do. I'll share my screen right now.
Okay.
This is just the questionnaire that got sent out Friday, I believe. So Taylor Studios did come back to us with some questions, kind of narrow down the focus on the exhibits and what sort of things the board's interested out there. Staff took those questions and we thought breaking it in multiple choice so members can kind of rank ideas. So right now we're talking about the questions. Then after today, we'll send it out again with the updated questions and everybody can answer the questions. Then we'll discuss at the next Public Works Committee for that. So this is more, if you want more options listed in these questions right now, let me know. I'll make some edits here and we'll clean it up later today.
so, I mean, can we go over the special call? Because a lot of people weren't here for it. I mean, just a recap.
I'll
of-
do a real, do you want to do a real quick? I can do a real quick recap of it. Taylor Studios came in and gave us the presentation of what their thoughts were on what the Heritage Gallery could be. It was the majority of the people who were in attendance thought that they missed mark, quite frankly, and didn't include any of the history or heritage part of the gallery. They only had, sustainability, they had the things that are happening now, but there was no history. And so we wanted to get the history back into the Heritage Gallery. So we are now going to give them a more specific, I think, view on what we as a committee would like to see in the Heritage Gallery. So this is what we're going to pinpoint this. And then as Jeff said, we're going to then give these back out. Then you would answer this and then we'll talk about this again next time and get more specific. And so we're going to take our time on this because we want to do it right. We don't want to do it fast. We want to make sure that it's done correctly and that it's something that we're all proud of and actually does what we wanted it to do. Is that good? So, hopefully you all watched the meeting, although I
I
think it
like
was.
Don's explanation better, but sure, we won't say that.
We won't have her do that again. So if we can go over the questions really quickly. First question is, what would you say is the overreaching purpose of the space? Please rank by priority. I, of course, think that the history of DuPage County is number one. I don't know if there's a consensus on that. If we can just, is there any other questions on that?
I would just say the history of DuPage County is the only priority. It's the Heritage Gallery. It's not the Government Services Gallery or the
Right.
Gathering Space Gallery. It's the Heritage Gallery.
So
So
C and D, we think would be out. So Hall of Fame, I'm thinking is people who have been a part of history. So I'm thinking that those two can be almost combined a little bit because I think they both talk about the history. That's what I saw as those two questions. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Although
Okay. Okay,
a Hall of Fame could be more dynamic. You'd have changes coming in and out of a Hall of Fame.
correct.
The history would be up to the current, but that would be dynamic.
And that's why I mean, think like for the digital things, that would be changeable. And so Hall of Fame could show faces of people and as they change, and we add people that could be added to that. So I kind of see that as the digital end of that, where the fixed part would be the timeline and showing the history of DuPage. That's how in my mind I'm envisioning, if anybody has any other ideas than that. Member Dessert.
yeah, I was gonna wait until later in the presentation, but I'll go through the Hall of Fame then if you'd like to. I just want to give a brief little synopsis of ideas.
Well, if we could just get, I think we're just doing the questions today, just because we're short on time, and then the next time we're gonna talk about. So if we could do 1 and 2 for the hall, for those as our priorities, or even you could do history of DuPage County and the Hall of Fame as one combined, I think that's what we wanna do. So if we're all in agreement on that, yes, yes,
1 and 2, history first, Hall of Fame second. That's,
I think they're separate.
okay, so 1 is A, 2 is B.
Yeah.
All in consensus, yes, okay, I'm hearing question, okay. Should there be any seating and design? My thoughts are like maybe seating in front of the displays, but there's no seating in terms of, for people to come in there. Are we all in favor of that?
Yes.
Yes, okay, I'm seeing a consensus on that, so limited seating, okay. Okay, number 3, who is the desired audience? Visiting students, groups of people for public meetings, typical building visitors doing business in 421 or other. Obviously, I think all 3 are going to be here. I think this is kind of a question that we would want all 3. So I think that's how I feel on that. So I don't know. Anybody else have any thoughts on that? Number 8.
Before we do all this, Taylor said they were gonna do a survey. I mean, why don't we do a survey out there and see if people are actually gonna come here? And put it that way, like, hey, would you come here? Would you learn about the history of the county? Would you park? Have you ever been to the 421 building? Do you know where the 421 building is?
Well, I
I
think
mean-
people do know where the 421 because they're coming and doing business. We do have students here today. So we do have people that do come here, in my opinion. I understand what you're saying, but that would be a whole other step. And that at the longer we're gonna take to get them exactly what we're looking for in this. This has been something that I know a committee has been working on for quite a few years in terms of updating the Heritage Gallery. It's very outdated. So I think that if we could get some kind of consensus on these questions, we would give them some kind of direction. Rosa,
If you build it, they will come. So we could do information after it's here.
absolutely,
Sort of an outreach.
absolutely. So, Member Chapman?
Yeah, my thoughts are, it's, when I go to other places traveling, and you see like at their little city halls, there's stuff up that talks about the history of the community. So whether anybody comes or not, I think it's important that we have something in here that shows our history.
I agree.
I think Taylor here was saying, are we thinking, we do have a captive audience, people that have come here for their services or spending time. Are we looking to cater to them, or do we want busloads of kids to come in as part of, right? And I think they're just trying to focus.
I think it's the people that are going to be here in the building,
So,
much like these students are today who are here. doing.
General
research.
users.
Further things
General
puts
use.
there as an amenity.
So I guess it would be more C and B,
Yeah,
would be the ones. I would think,
Right.
C being 1, 2 being B. Is anybody in consensus with that? Or is
Yes,
there
I
any
am.
questions? Yes, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, what events in DuPage County history do you believe visitors will find most engaging, memorable, and which aspects do you think they will find most relevant? The timeline of DuPage County and people that have been part of the timeline, again, I think this is a 1 and 2 thing. I think that these are 2 different things, ways of displaying. The timeline would be more static. The digital could be more of the people that have been part of the timeline. Does anybody else had any thoughts on that? No, okay. 1 and 2, okay, and then there's no other, okay. What is the key takeaways that you would like visitors to walk away from your historical exhibit in the hearts and minds? Information on where and how DuPage history evolved. How history changed DuPage County, people that contributed to DuPage history, which the industrial, social movements, public service.
The A and C.
I would agree. It would be very hard to describe how history
it is
changed
very
DuPage County.
subjective.
It's very subjective.
Okay, so A and C?
A and C would be 1 and 2.
I just read that. I thought it was how history changed in DuPage County.
That's.
No, it's how history changed
Okay.
DuPage County.
Well, I mean, that would be urbanization, what DuPage went from farmland to the second largest county in the state of Illinois. That's what that would mean. How did
And
history
that would be in the
change?
timeline, I guess, right? Showing how it changed.
Well, I guess, how industrialization in Chicago changed
Yeah.
DuPage County out that way.
You'd show all that in a timeline. population
So I would
growth.
think that that would be under A, which would be the timeline. So I think A and B kind of would be combined. The timeline and the way it's been changed by the timeline. They're almost the same question, I think, quite honest. Okay, okay. If anybody shout out if you have any other things, because otherwise I'm going through this quickly because we're really late. Do you have a preference on how Taylor Studios divide historical chunks, example, decades, centuries, people, events, technology, et cetera, in the exhibit? A combination of static and digital displays, overall history timeline, static or changing over time, people section, digital can be updated and added to time. Or other, right, in it. I mean, A, I think, kind of shows the static and digital displays, which we've been talking about all along. The other 2 are just kind of a way different way of stating that, I think, quite honestly. So I would go as A is the one that is the one we want, okay? Okay. Going on to 9, how did you feel about the appearance of the open frame metal kiosk structures in the Taylor Studios presentation? Again, if you didn't see that, there's a picture right here on the top, on the bottom, I'm sorry, that shows what they were kind of thinking about it so are you happy with more modern look versus a more traditional wood grain base structure, a reuse of existing display cases? I think it's gonna be hard to reuse some of those. We can use some of the display, I guess, but I think if we're talking more digital, we want to use TV, so that might be more with what they were offering in some of their display there, and at least in the front of the display where it's more of a digital display. And then I know there was some discussion during the special call meeting about a timeline being on the back wall and then being displays around the sides or something like that. I would be in favor of that. Member Evans.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I like the idea of the back wall. We really need to utilize that giant blank space. And that's where we get the height. But I will say that this graphic on the bottom here, these things look a little puny to me.
Yeah.
I know they didn't want to block the light, but they're really small and we have light coming in from.
There's a lot of light.
Yes.
Yeah, so I don't think we need to worry about blocking the light. These look really small, so if we're gonna do something, let's kind of do it nice and
Right.
maybe put a little height into some of these things.
And we didn't get into the budget too much during the special call, but I think they were kind of spreading the budget out. I think if we focus more on a time, one end or the other, that display can be kind of,
And you
handled.
said we have a lot of televisions downstairs that we can reuse and things like that. or
Right, and then the
screens, so-
static displays do get pretty expensive, but if we have like one nice static display, maybe that's how I think they're gonna evolve the design here. But yeah, I think they're it might have been strung out.
And then
a
we
little
can make
too
it
thin.
larger so it'll be more people can see it better. So yes, I think this is small too, so. But are we in favor of more of what Taylor was designing with a timeline on the background. I don't know if in the, like on the back wall or something like that.
I think so, the back lot.
Anybody else, members say?
Yeah, I just didn't like Taylor's. I don't like that they're blocking off that one exit there.
Yeah.
I think we have plenty of room where people can go on both sides and see it at that point. If we want to do a timeline, we've got plenty of space around the, you know, the ceiling there, you know, where it goes around where the stair, where the railings are underneath. We could do something there, a timeline around there. But I'd hate to block off one side of it and just kind of, I just see people kind of, you know, going to that one side, and just walking by instead of going down two sides and actually seeing what's there.
I actually agree. I think that's not needed to be blocked off either. So that's something that definitely I think we should discuss them and just have them make both sides, both doors open or continue to be open.
When people walk on campus and just kind of do a loop, so it's kind of nice to have.
Yeah, they do a walk and they sometimes do a walking thing. Remember those up?
I think rather than existing one, I know number 2 is still preliminary, but I think you need large panels with, say, 100 years, 4 large panels, 100 years each, so that you can walk through and you can get the history. And then after that, less of the memorabilia sorts of things, because when you start to look at memorabilia, it's very, sort of, you get much too localized and into one little thing. So I think you want more of the digital. So just the combination of those two would be updated enough, and you can spend as much time as you have. But I think a large diorama type history is what we're really looking for.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm talking about with the with either on that wall or along
On a
the
wall
sides
or
or
some
along
kind
on the wall. I think that's something that we can look at a couple plans from Taylor in terms of how they would like to do that, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And I think the 10 and 11 were crossed out. So that is it. Did you get what you need?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, a lot of these questions we will have other, please describe. So that's where you can put in, you know, any item you don't feel like has been shown on this, and then we'll aggregate everything at the next Works Committee, cover it briefly, and then we'll send it back to Taylor for reviews.
This was very helpful. This is exactly what we needed to kind of get a flavor for example, seating. I like keeping the both. I wanted to close one side personally. It makes a lot of sense so we can go on both sides. So great direction. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions on this? Number A?
Yeah, I'm just a little frustrated on this. It seems like we're putting a lot of work into this, that, you know, you said this group's been together for 2 years. I mean, some of us went along with this reluctantly because we weren't sure we wanted this there. I mean, the price was not even given. I mean, Taylor gave some prices, but nothing on cases, nothing on anything else. I mean, that's the next thing to do is look at price.
Right.
We can go whatever, and you come back and say, this is great, and this is what Taylor came back, and by the way, it's gonna be $500,000. That's a lot of money.
Right. And that's what we'll have to discuss at that point in time. And I agree with you and stuff. So, but we have to have some kind of direction from them to go to before we can even get pricing. So.
Right, which, I mean, and nothing against Taylor, but there was this, they kept putting in this work group was there or whatever. And from what I know, the people that were in the work group and from what we said in committee, I thought they were pretty specific on what they had said.
Right.
And that they just missed it completely. I mean, I know we're doing this again,
I'm
but
disagreeing with you.
I think, I don't want to blame any board members or anybody who was in that work group. I think they just missed it. I mean, I think you guys are pretty specific. We had talked about a lot of video and a lot of other stuff, and we don't want static stuff that you're gonna have to, you know, change every 4 or 5 years, the same thing that we're going through now. And
I think with these questions being honed down, I think that they'll have a better idea, and then we'll have it brought out again, and then we will have any more information at that point in time in the discuss. Remember you?
Yeah, so I think, I just want to underscore what member A was also saying, in the sense that if we're going to make a big change like this and we're putting so much money into it, then it really does have to be a really big change. So I think it was stated before that, you know, less static displays, more digital displays,
Correct.
because the information is going to be constantly changing going forward in the future. And I think there's also a lot of information and historical aspects that have not been included, obviously, in this current display. And there's so much more that we can put in, you know, particularly with Underground Railroad and, you know, right, and fair housing, discriminatory laws, and all that stuff that's happened in DuPage and how it's been changing, and it totally affects the demographics currently, all that stuff. So, right, so I just think all of that is really important to include. So yes, I think the digital aspect is the most important part to me personally, in that it provides more information and a completely different outlook of what this gallery is.
Right. And then we can come back and just say maybe few digital, if we want more than one digital screen, or the one we want to focus in on, you know, this part or whatever, we have, anyways, we'll figure that out as we go
Well,
along.
also because a lot of museum exhibits now are very much more interactive, right? The Elmhurst History Museum now has this huge table where you can pull up different maps and, you know, overlay things and, you know, include more information. And that is, I think, the future. More people are just interested in doing that, and kids just love pressing buttons, and you know, in general also, so.
We have to watch the possum.
Yes,
Yes,
thank you,
Member
Madam
Kale.
Chair. Quick question. So I know we allocated funds to Taylor for the consulting of this project. Have we specified what funds are allocated for the project itself?
Not yet.
There was $180,000 was allocated from ARPA interest. You as a board have committed, correct me, 20 for
30,000 for the first phase of the design, and if we go to design development, that's an additional 15,000 for design. So 45,000 would be the max to
Okay.
the
And
design.
then that 100,000 would only be done via future board action approving something.
So we allocated 150 and we've already kind of spent 45 of that, right?
30,
30,
correct.
But have we approved 45?
No.
No,
No.
we just approved 30, so then we'd have to approve 45. So then we have the remaining $100,000.
Correct.
But is that for the construction or is that for anything, right? I mean, we're not planning on $500,000 on this
No.
thing.
One of the things that was discussed for a possibility for consideration is if you have a $200,000 display, you build half now, if that was you choose to do, it could be throttled back to where you want to go, for example, but staff is kind of leaning toward reading the direction you've given us is that 100,000 is kind of the goal to stay in.
Yes.
If we exceed that, then that could be phased or it can be trimmed back as you see fit.
And we
I
can
would
talk
not-
about here as a committee in terms of any changes that we see that might, maybe we just want one thing that's just maybe 10,000 more, so that, but nothing.
Right,
I don't
mean, at
foresee
this
that
point,
at
I
all.
would not support any increase, anything above the ARPA interest that we allocated for this project.
Okay,
No way.
Member Chaplin.
And we do probably within this campus, we probably have, I know we have a lot of historical documents that might be helpful in this project, right? Because I know the clerk of the circuit court has a lot of documents. I know the clerk has a lot of documents. I know the recorder has a lot of documents. Some of those you could digitize and just put them on those screens, right? And this is what I've been talking about. It's so important because we are so rich in our history and people are proud of our history that it's displayed somewhere. And I think we might have a lot of great resources right within these buildings here that we won't really have to go far, you know, or it shouldn't.
And we have
take
a
long.
relationship with the historic museum too, so.
Yes,
Right.
and even here, we have here, so.
All right. Well, thank you so much for all of your input in this. Is there any old business to discuss? Any new business? Without objection, we're adjourned.